To ACDC number 179. The first item on the agenda is going to be a Glamsterdam DevNet 4 update. Do you want to give us the update, Barnabas?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Amsterdam Desert 4 has been struggling to stay alive. We have had some issues starting, I think, on Monday, and ever since Monday, we have been unable to recover. Currently, we are still investigating what the actual root cause of the bug was. There seems to be a Lodestar implementation bug. Uh, but I think we are still not 100% sure. And once we are confident that we know what the bug was, then we can relaunch with the same spec, just the following Amsterdam DevNet number.
Lodestar seem to be hinting that it is a spec issue and we need to update the spec, right? Has anyone gotten some time to look into it?
I'm not sure that it's a spec issue, but I'll investigate more later.
Oh, yeah, I see there's a part of the thread I haven't caught up on. Yeah, okay, POTUS is also arguing that it isn't a spec issue. Okay, if I guess an implementation bug would explain what's going on with Lodestar, but most or all the clients on the network seem to be down. So, has anyone looked into why the other clients are down? Okay. Yeah, I guess it's probably more of a cascading issue, and we might know more soon. It seems that a few people are on vacation, so maybe it might just take a bit longer. Yeah, Barnabas?
Yeah, one more thing. So probably the cascading effect was caused by Watchtower rolling all the images all at once, which probably led to a bunch of the same clients just restarting all at the same time. And I think that could have had something to do with it. But yeah, it still shouldn't be this catastrophic in my opinion. I'm gonna be looking into fixing the watchtower bug, possibly shifting by some random number of minutes so that we don't have this kind of bug, or maybe add some health check into it. I'm not sure what the correct approach would be. Either way, it shouldn't be this catastrophic.
Yeah. Yeah, the plan should be resilient to this. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, Nico?
Yeah, so from Lodestar side, there is a bug in our fork choice where we didn't check for the payload data available in should extend payload. So that meant, so we implemented this new feature where you reorg a payload if the data is unavailable. But basically our fork choice voted for full. So we basically reorged our own payload, and we always built on the wrong chain basically, but never updated it in our fork choice. But yeah, it doesn't really explain why the network died.
Yeah. So I guess if it isn't a spec related issue, do we then wait for the Lodestar bug fix and then relaunch the DevNet as DevNet 5? What's the plan there?
Yeah, so I wouldn't increase the scope till we have at least a stable DevNet 4 spec for at least 2 weeks, and then look into adding additional EIPs to the scope.
Okay, that sounds good. Moving on to the next topic, it's more of an FYI, but the target gas limit PRs brought up at last week's last ACDC have been merged. So both the execution API as well as consensus specs. I just wanted to make a note there. And on a related topic, the builder deposit overflow. So in order to prevent builder deposits overflowing, we've kept Glamsterdam testing at 190 million. Has anyone else got some time to do some deposit benchmark tests? Do we have some new numbers? Any update on this topic?
I'm aware the Prism and Lighthouse can handle new builder deposit spamming. I have not been able to test other clients or prove that they work.
Okay. And by they're able to handle it, essentially they're able to do 8,000-ish deposits.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. That's good to know. Maybe just a quick recap for voters. We mainly spoke about Amsterdam DevNet 4, as well as if anyone's gotten time to debug it. If you did and you want to say something, please feel free. Otherwise, we had already moved on to other topics. Okay. Yeah, so the next agenda item is produce block V4 with payload. We have an open PR here and the Beacon API specs. Does someone want to present it or discuss it today?
Hey guys, I'm Shane. I made the PR. I think it's in pretty good shape overall. The whole idea is just introducing the idea of to get and post payload envelopes and also produce block before. I think a couple like just lingering things to kind of discuss that are interesting, or like how we want to handle builder boost factor and the new produce block. I mean, previously could be that you would be comparing some value from the for local block building, the local payload with a value derived from the execution layer, and then compare that against the potential value from a external block being built, and then compare the two. And you use this builder boost factor to decide whether or not you want to really prefer local block anyway, or you can like really scale up the factor to prefer the external block, or you can set like the factor to like 100 and let the two values be compared. Doesn't really make so much sense, I think, for GLOAS, since like if you're comparing bids now, and for local block building, that value would be 0 for local, and then for external block, whatever they set as the bid. And so we want to keep the builder boost factor, which I think Nico has some interest. Then maybe it's more like a Boolean where we could say like either A, prefer local block always, or B, just accept whatever is the bid, because you can't really compare. No more. Doesn't seem to make sense to have an actual factor. Just my thought.
Nico, do you want to bring up the question?
Yes, so I don't really understand why we cannot compare local versus the bid. It should be exactly the same as we have pre-GLOAS. Because essentially you just look at your local payload value and then you pick whatever's the highest bid you have in the pool locally. And then you apply the builder boost to those values.
Really, the local bid's value is 0. The part that I missed.
Local bid is 0. Wait, why is it 0? So if you set builder boost factor 0, right, we multiply by 0, which means we always pick local block.
Yeah, that would be true.
And if it's set to 100, you basically always pick a bit instead of local. And then everything in between, you still apply the ratio to each value and then calculate based on that.
Yeah, but I mean, the local bid's always zero. So like if you do anything higher than zero, you're always going to prefer the external
Oh
bid.
no,
So whether it
yeah.
be 100 or infinity, because right now it's kind of like builder boost factor of like zero or 100 or like 2 to the 64 and -1, I think are kind of like the three kind of common values as
Oh,
examples.
but
But
you,
real,
yeah. I mean, you
I gotta say
don't,
it's like a Boolean now, really more so as opposed to like
but
you
there
need to
shouldn't be
apply
a
any
local
factor.
bid, right? Like the if you do a local build, the bid itself doesn't really exist. It's just a placeholder, in a sense, in the block, like a dummy, more or less. You should just use the local payload value.
Hmm. I local payload value mean the value from the EL that we were previously getting before GLOWS. Compare that to a bid.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's the
Hmm.
same as we do today. You just look at the local payload value, and then instead of getting the header from the builder API, you would look at the bid pool and look at the value there.
Okay. I thought they might be like apples to oranges, comparing like bid to like a just EL value. But okay. So then yeah, it would work the same as today. That's true.
Yeah, POTUS.
I just had a question because I got confused by Nico's comment. So how does this boost work? Forget about the issue of like having zero or not. And if you grab the local value, so what is the whole branch of numbers that we can have? You multiply and then you divide by 100, or
Yeah, it's the same as the current spec we have. I think Prism has this local boost flag.
yeah,
Where
we
you
had it in
boost
a way
local.
in which you wouldn't be able to boost the external builder. And then we changed it so that we have now these two different flags, one that conforms to the Beacon API and the other one that that is ours, that has only positive range. So I just want to make sure that at least you have the option of always boosting the local payload. From what you said, it didn't sound like it, so that's why I'm asking.
So how it works on the API, it's called builder boost factor, right? So if you set it below 100, it boosts the local payload. If you set it above, it would boost the builder payload.
Okay, perfect. So it wasn't really 100, but it was like sort of max you int, what makes you always choose the builder payload.
Ah, yes. So 100
Okay,
will
thanks. That's
just
good then.
compare value to value, like
Yeah, that's what
without
got me
applying
confused.
anything.
Okay, so is the decision then to close this PR or make a modification? What would the preference be?
I mean, I need to at least just make sure, like, close out the conversation on this builder boost factor. It seems like it worked same as today. So I'll just make sure that the description is good for that. The only like other thing I introduced a couple of days ago from Nico's suggestion was to introduce a blinded execution payload envelope, like for when you're doing the stateful path. Basically, for stateful, if you're trying to get the payload envelope from the beacon node, then you really only need a blinded envelope since the beacon node the full payload, so you can sign that. And then whenever you post it back to the beacon node, you can send back a signed blinded payload envelope if you are going the stateful path. Else, if you're doing stateless, you can send back like the full envelope with blobs and KG commitments or proofs. But that's like a small PR that I could then merge into 580. And yeah, Nico looked at it, but of course, it'd be great to get more eyes on it.
Okay, sounds good. Next agenda topic, maybe it also matches well with Tony's comments. So if CLs can handle 8,192 deposits, what about more? Do we want to bump the limit in Hegota? And if we were to increase the deposit costs to 42K gas, we'd run into the problem at 350 million gas limit. Yeah, do you guys want to bring the discussion from chat to the call? Maybe Tony, Portos, Barnabas, one of you?
Yeah, I can do so. Yeah, I was just wondering, like 8,192 deposits, that's then possible like as of 350 million. And then it would be nice if we had some change in Hegota that either bumps the number or introduces stable containers. Like, I'm not opinionated on the final solution, more that we somehow fix this.
Yeah, Portos?
I really think we're just wasting too much time on this theoretical problem. We can make this limit infinite now. We have like several months to punish anyone that is willing to waste or at least to lock thousands and thousands of ETH on the changes to attack and overdose this. So if someone is willing to send constantly 8,000 ETH of deposits and then wait months to withdraw them back and keep them back, I'm sure we can just coordinate a fork to punish that group. So I think we're wasting too much time. Just make this limit infinite and that's it. And let's just deal with this if it actually happens that someone is willing to waste billions and billions of dollars.
So you'd propose just changing the limit from 8,192 to UN max or something?
Well, yeah, so something that UN max is going to like require a lot of hashing, but some reasonable limit, like more than the available ETH.
Wasn't the idea to just remove this whole number with stable containers?
Yeah, but we don't have stable. Well, I don't want to continue changing the spec. Changing just and adding just a limit, it's just easy now. It's just a constant. If we have stable containers and we are testing this, then it's easy to just really fix it that way. But as of now, just changing one constant removes this discussion and saves us time.
It's not exactly just changing a single constant. It will be more annoying. I believe it involves a new config variable and stuff.
Why would it change anything but just the constant that is the limit in the list?
Those aren't set as constants. Those are set as, I think, presets or something.
Yeah, that's fine. This is a constant in our code.
Okay.
Is that the case with every client? I remember Nimbus had a hard time changing or touching any presets in the past. Yeah, Barnabas?
My point was to wait for stable containers because if we add this now and then we end up doing stable containers anyway in Amsterdam, then we would need to remove it. So I just don't see the reason to add something now just for the sake of unblocking us. So I would only add this new value if we DFI the stable container EIP.
I also agree. I'd rather not make this change until stable containers.
Yeah, agreed. It doesn't make sense to add that code churn now. Cool. I will put this as a result for now, but we do need to revisit it before we agree to ship to Amsterdam. As in, some fix has to go in. Cool. Okay, the next, anything else on this topic? If not, we'll move to the next agenda item. Okay, the next one is about the SSEing of the engine API. As always, we had these two proposals. First one is just adding SSEing the existing engine API from Barnabas, and the other ones from Marius, which kind of rethinks everything. Has anyone been able to dig a bit more into this? I know that Jacek posted a few messages about it on ACD, but besides that, has anyone given some deeper thought?
I would like to highlight that Nethermind and Aragon now have their implementation of 764 in their trunk branches. And we do not have any still implementation of either of them, I think, in any of the trunk branches. Also, I'm not very opinionated which one we do. I would just like one of them to be decided on, ideally today, and then we can close the other one in favor of the.
But do we have
other.
any information for or against either one? I mean, yes, we have
But-
some implementations of one, but that isn't a reason to choose it.
I think Etrex did a benchmarking of both of them. I'm not sure if they have published the numbers yet.
Casey, do you maybe want to talk about the Prism trade-off?
Yeah, just that we already have a JSON RPC client, and it might be easier to wedge SSE into that. But I think that being able to drop JSON RPC at Hagota is a pretty huge advantage to jumping straight into what Marius is proposing. So a tiny bit more scope versus a faster deprecation path. I feel like the faster deprecation path is a big benefit.
Yep, that's a fair point. Marius, if we were to go with your PR, would you be the one leading this? Because historically, the problem with a lot of API discussions is they're very fertile for bike shedding. So I don't want to choose one of the options where we don't have someone who's willing to keep up with the bike shedding.
Yep, happy to lead this.
Okay. Cool. Then let's go with Marius's PR, purely for faster deprecation path and having someone who's willing to keep up with the batch shedding. Any other points on this topic? Great. We already spoke about Glamsterdam DevNet 5 timelines. To summarize, is there any other Glamsterdam related topic that we should discuss today? Yeah, Kotos?
Yeah, I want to request again if clients can ping me or give me images when you guys have implemented the honest reorg feature and dual deadlines for PTC. I want to start actually checking for choice. We haven't been testing for choice on DevNet. I need at least 3 clients that have dual deadlines that I can set at different times and honest reorgs of late payloads. You don't really need the honest reorg of late payloads. That's not that important. I'm going to take care of reorging myself, but I do need dual deadlines.
Yeah, Bharat?
Yeah, I just want to ask, like, regarding the builder API stuff, like, what DevNet or something should we target that for? Like, do we want to wait to make sure that Glamsterdam devnets are like very stable and then go for it? Because I'm just curious, like how we should be looking at that. Because I think for me it makes sense that that can come when all the devnets are stable and P2P bidding is like working well across all clients. And then this is something that can like be added after that. But I just want to understand like what do people think about that?
Is there a specific client or someone specific you would want input from, Bharat?
No one specific, like just I just want to get a general understanding on like which devnet or when we should like probably like think of targeting that. Just like curious to know.
I'd probably say DevNet 6 because DevNet 5 is mostly relaunch of DevNet 4 specs and focus on stability. So yeah, I think the type of things you're talking about will likely be relevant for DevNet 6.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, one maybe other minor point, we merged in a new tool called Disruptor. This should give us the ability to do short range and long range reorgs and network forks directly in Kurtosis. So if you want to test fork choice and trigger a lot of small reorgs regularly, have a look at the playbook. Everything's just done by a sort of playbook, so it's very configurable and easy to reuse. If you have any questions about it, then please reach out. Yeah, Portals.
I wanted to ask a question to clients. There's a discussion on the chat about some possible fork choice bug. I want to ask about how are you guys sending PTC attestations? It just occurred to me that it would be very rare to have a situation in DevNet in which the PTC voted for the payload being timely and the data being not available. So I'd like to have confirmation that clients are actually making the right attestations. I think Prism had a bug about this, making the right attestation with regard to both timely and data available. And if the client, since we are getting these attestations very early, like much earlier than the deadline, we're getting them together with the block sometimes. I suspect that clients are sending these attestations as soon as the payload is there, as soon as the payload is synced. I just want to make sure that we are sending them with the data available flag correctly set. I'm very surprised to what Nico is pointing out that that Lodestar might have been hit by a situation in which the PTC voted split, timely but not available.
Stefan said that Teku sets them on deadline, and if blobs have arrived by then they set the flag.
So for Lodestar, we only send them early if we see the block. So if we are the proposer ourselves, then we could send them really early.
So if you're not a proposer and you see the payload very early, do you wait until you put it in fork choice? So namely, you wait until you're sure that the data is available?
No, we only vote when everything is available and we import the payload. Otherwise, we wait for the deadline.
No, wait a second. You should, I mean, if the payload appears, is available, but you don't import it because, I'm sorry, the payload appeared, is timely, but you don't import it in fork choice because you couldn't get the columns, you still should vote for available, timely, but not available. So PTC attesters should attest to payloads that they haven't put in fork choice.
Yeah, I think that's what we should do, but I would need to double check if that's correct.
That's actually very important because if you wait until you put in fork choice, then you're waiting for execution as well.
Okay, any other comments here, or is there any conclusion, Potus?
Well, I'm not sure. We need to grab that block and test Nico's theory. I'm very puzzled by this. I can't. I mean, I can only think of a bug if the situation happened that the PTC was split at this moment in such a DevNet.
Maybe Forky still has it saved. I'm sending the link. It's been running, so it could be there. Yeah, I think it's partly crashing Forky. It's not made for such crazy forking, I guess. Okay. Anything else for Glamsterdam? Cool. Then let's move to Hegota. The first item on the Hegota list is EIP 7684, return deposits for distinct credentials. Do we have Tapline or someone else to speak for this?
Yeah, so I had included this on the last ACD call agenda together with the next one, like 8148. But for the purpose of today's ACD, I wanted just to don't discuss on it and move it to the next one and discuss only for the second item, the 8148, because the topics are a bit unrelated. So I prefer to keep it focused. So I would skip the first one for today and move it to a next call and discuss only for the 8148, if that's okay.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. So give me a second to share screen. So you see my screen, guys?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, nice. So I will try to keep it short because this CIP was also discussed by Dima in a previous ACD call, just to recap everything. So it's AP 8148, custom sweep threshold for validators. It was authored by Dima, Dmitry, and myself. We are all lighter contributors. And it has to do with the proof of stake withdrawal credentials for validators. So yeah, I think here for ACD call, we don't really need much background, but just as a reminder, what's the difference is you have two validators, Alice and Bob, 01 and 02. The difference is that when your effective balance exceeds 32 ETH, for 001 validators, the legacy ones, the rewards are automatically withdrawn every roughly 1 week from the automatic sweep withdrawal algorithm, while for 002 validators, this is not happening. The balance is compounding. Actually, the new threshold for 002 validators is 2084 ETH. So there is this kind of asymmetry between 32 and 2048 and nothing in between. So yeah, fast comparison, like we all know, 002 validators can accumulate balance while 001 cannot. They have both minimum and maximum 32 ETH. 002 validators require almost the same hardware resources per validator. But the important thing here is 002 validators are better for the network due to reduced total validator count. This was one of the main incentives to introducing this class. And essentially for fast finality, which is one of the most important parts of the future roadmap, requires from 10x to 30x decrease on the number of validators to enable fast finality together with other Stromap elements. So this is really where we need to go, and this is why the goal of the protocol is to have validators switching to 002. However, the main problem is that the adoption of this is slower than expected, although over the last few months we had some improvements. So currently, I checked this morning this from Buddha, from Dune, 1.5% of validators are 002, and they hold roughly 28% of all it's staked because they have average of 821 ETH. And it has been quite discussed why is this adoption slow and why people are not moving to 002. And one of the reasons is a liquidity concern. It's exactly this part that you don't get regular reward distribution with this automatic reward skimming as in 001 case, that whatever goes above 32 ETH, you receive immediately with no single actions required from the validator. And actually, that was the initial motivation of the CAP. It was during discussions in Buenos Aires, like in DEFCON last year, that this seems to be one of the big barriers for many people to enter 002. And yeah, example of people that were saying the same thing were like some small solo stakers, like just 32 ETH stakers that they say, okay, I prefer to have these predictable hash-free rewards coming to me. But we had also serious similar cases with people who run like bigger, like 6 validators. And the question is like, why should I convert my 6 validators to one if I don't get my rewards automatically because I'm too far from the 2084 ETH? And similarly, there are also bigger players with just less than this amount of ETH that they also prefer to receive the rewards automatically. And also, another class is fractional home stakers, like the ones that are using permissionless staking pools like Lido CSM or Rocket Pool, that they cannot afford bonds for full 002 keys, but so they prefer to stay 001 in order to be able to afford the bond and receive the rewards for free, basically. So the suggested solution, as you might predict, is to introduce a custom sweep threshold. So instead of having the sweep threshold fixed at 2084 ETH, just make this a configurable constant for every 002 validator. So this is now, it will not be a universal constant, it will be just separate value for each validator. And when the effective balance goes above this threshold, then the rewards will be sent automatically to the execution layer with raw credentials. So this achieves best of both worlds for this class of validators we discussed, because they can set any desired amount of ETH to accumulate. So it's quite continuous between 32 and 2084 ETH, depending on the profile of the validator. They receive any excess rewards automatically, and they can also change the threshold at any time. In terms of security and kind of protocol properties, it's designed in a way that it does not allow withdrawal gaming. So you cannot set the new threshold to be below your current balance. So it cannot be used as an excuse to have faster withdrawals. So every validator, like let's say if someone today has 1,000 ETH, they cannot set the custom threshold below this. They cannot set above it. And the full control of this threshold is to the stake owner. So it's only via execution layer triggerable actions introduced in Pectra. So the entity that owns the ETH, not the entity who runs the validator, can only change this sweep threshold. So just to wrap up, what are the main benefits? First of all, for Ethereum protocol, the main benefit is that we expect that this will help reducing the validator count, which in turn enables fast finality, while not putting the smallest validators at disadvantage. And a second interesting feature that I think it's quite useful for the future of Ethereum protocol is that this makes a potential future change of max effective balance, or even complete removal of max effective balance, much easier, because currently the way that the protocol is, in order to remove the maximum effective balance, you need to modify also this sweep withdrawal algorithm. They interact quite heavily, but now, like with ECAP, this current constant of 2084 could be just used as the custom ceiling for current 002 validators. So I think in a later part of the Straw map, there is an item which is called tech debt reset, and it includes also, as far as I understand, removing the maxi B. And I think this CAP prepares the ground quite easily to make this future change much smoother, and which I think it's a good change for the Ethereum proof of stake. For validators, it allows flexibility because a validator can become 002 and receive rewards at any desired threshold. So there are no kind of incentives to remain in the 001 or trade-offs. And small stakers and fractional home stakers can remain into the game without being at disadvantage. And one might ask, like, why, whether there is some impact on Lido as well. So there will be some impact, but it's quite small. And I just wanted to emphasize this. Like 95% of Lido validators will switch to 002 anyways, no matter what happens with this AP. Permissions, we already start the testnet migrations, and it should be shipped until Q1 next year. And also CSM, like permissionless modules for 002 validators, will be shipped by end of this year. But the point is that there might be a small fraction of the permissionless validators who cannot afford to bond for 2048 ETH. So essentially, what this enables is the smaller players that are using Lido's permissionless staking to contribute to Ethereum decentralization, to keep them inside the game. So they could afford now pay a small bond, perhaps very slightly higher than now, become 002, and also don't kicked out in the future when the attestor size cap comes, so which is currently on JSTAR of the protocol. So it's basically saving the kind of most decentralized 5%, which is vulnerable for the future changes coming. And yeah, last, why Hekota is a good timing, I think it perfectly matches with the currently announced roadmap. I have a small screenshot on the related items, but the target is that on JSTAR, which is expected to be 1 year after Hekota, essentially, the fast finality will become feasible with 128 validators. So it will give enough time to have 1 year between this feature gets enabled and the cap of number of validators being applied, so that both staking pools and validators have time to adjust before getting kicked out due to this capping. And also, as I said before, there are other future beacon change improvements that exist on the roadmap, and this EAP is not so complex, and it will make those changes, which are healthy for the protocol, easier to occur in the future. So this is it. Yeah, there is also a thread in the ETH Magicians. There is also a PR open for including this EAP in the Hekota Meta EAP. And yeah, happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Maybe one question is there any argument against keeping today's ceiling and expecting 0x2 validators to just execute withdrawals manually? That's sort of hacking in the custom ceiling, right?
Yeah. So if I understand the question, is like keep the current status, like don't do this change that I presented here, and just do the withdrawals via the execution layer, right? Is that the question?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think this is possible to happen, but the main point is to maintain this seamless reward accounting that like the reward received that happens today with this automatic. This is what I try to say, like this automatic sweep algorithm. Like it's predictable and hassle-free. You don't have to take any action. The rewards come automatically to you. But from
that makes sense. It is better UX to have it
Yeah.
automatic.
Yeah.
CW?
Yeah, hi there. I'm Celtic Warrior, a solo staker that is reasonably well known on some of the discords like ETH Staker. I'd like to come out strongly in support of EIP 8148 for all of the reasons that have been outlined. The number one differentiator between 0x01 and 0x02 is predictable cash flow. Staking income whether you're a solo, small operator or a large operator, is generally taxable. And that means that having predictable income for paying taxes, operating costs, sometimes living expenses, is very necessary beyond the tiniest operations, let's say. The challenge is, of course, that most solos don't have 2048 ETH to stake. So therefore, we are kind of trapped a little bit in 0x01 because of the need for predictable cash flow. Having a configurable cap, as suggested by EIP 8148, makes all the sense in the world. And I could imagine that most solo stakers, and this topic has come up a lot on the Discords, it's not new. I could imagine that most solo stakers would be quite willing to consolidate into 0x02 if this configurable cap was available. I should also point out that in my professional life, I work in digital assets in a financial institution, a large one, global. It also appears to me that a configurable cap would be very useful for institutional stakers as well. And why is that? Risk limits. Right now at 2048 ETH per validator key, that's a $4 million key. That's a lot of value at stake in a single key. Even if an institution has hundreds of keys, it doesn't matter. It's still a lot of value at stake per key. It probably would be convenient for a lot of institutions to be able to say, look, I want to have $1 million per key at risk and still maintain predictable cash flow, or I want to have 2 million at risk and still maintain predictable cash flow. So there's a myriad of different reasons to 8148 being implemented. Really what it is just an upgrade to 0x02. We should do that.
Thank you. Yeah, Amir?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Amir from p2p.org. We are a large node operator in the ecosystem. Just wanted to show my support for this EIP and some of the reasons that I see this as a need for both institutionals and solo stakers, building on what CW said and what Greg presented. I think a key point here is for the rewards not to be automatically added to the effective balance. So if we want to do partial withdrawals, even as a node operator, if we can, which we cannot, that rewards would go through the withdrawal queue and not directly to the sweep delay. So that kind of that's not predictable. It depends on what withdrawal queue is at that time. But if someone wants sort of like a dividend mechanism on their validators, they want the cash flow to be predictable and be liquid for them. So they don't want to have the risk of withdrawal queue being super large. So making it automatic and not added to the effective balance would solve that problem for them. Another key point is us as a node operator, we do not have the access to withdrawal address, so we cannot initiate partial withdrawals on behalf of our clients. So it's an added operation on their side. So if they want to do something like a dividend stock mechanism for their customers, if they're an intermediary, they need to add this operation internally with the withdrawal queue. And from what we've seen, they much rather go with the 32 ETH validators at the moment, just not to have that headache and not utilize 0x02 validators.
Thank you. So as far as I know, custom ceilings were something we were looking at during Petra as well, but the main reason against it was implementation complexity. Perhaps there's some CLs who want to speak to it or give your opinion on the EIP. Okay. Other than that, it seems like there's some comments on it as well. Essentially, if the threshold needs to be in the EL or on the CL side, Like client, do you want to maybe bring up the topic?
Sorry, I was just trying to understand the proposal. So that you want to write this threshold on the EL, and then the EL decides, given the like potential sweeps, when the funds are dispersed to the validator. Is that the right understanding?
No, this is on the CL. So in the CL is where the withdrawals happen, right? So what currently happens is that
But
like
what's the
automatic.
sweep threshold request contract? That's just to register the threshold?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is also written into registry on the consensus layer.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yes, I also think there might be some questions. Like while talking, I saw there was some question about Maxi B that I discussed, but I can't see it now. If someone can raise it, it will be fine.
Do you mean the point from Barnabas where he was talking about removing the maxi B upper bound completely? So essentially everything's a custom ceiling?
Yeah. This is actually what I think. Like it could be like that, right? But yeah. But I'm not sure when people want to remove this max effective balance and why. Like I'm not it's outside the scope of this particular AP, but I think it allows to do this change whenever wanted much easier.
Okay. Any other comments on the EIP? If not, I think clients would need to look into it, look at the details, and then we bring it up again in the next call. Okay. Thank you. And I think you said initially that we'll bring up EIP 7684 in the next ACDC. If you want, we still have time at this ACDC to bring it up if you're already prepared for it.
No, yeah, let's put it in the next one. Yeah.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, Tony had a comment about simplifying the EIP, essentially no EL requests, transactions, just directly right into CL state. I think more devs also need to look at the EIP to figure out what the shape is should be.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the question. Actually, I will share now also the EIP and the specs we have, but the idea is that from the EL, the request is triggered by the owner of the stake, the owner of the capital. From the CL is like the node operator who runs the validator who has to do it. So the idea is like in delegated staking, the owner of the capital is the like on the execution layer. So that's why we use the execution layer request. But I'm not sure if this is the question. So if there is something else, just let me know.
Tony, do you want to immediately answer that? If not, POTUS? Okay, POTUS?
Yeah, so I feel I mean I'm overall I like this the CIP. I think it's not going to affect much the purpose of having a 002 validators, which is to actually have large effective balance because we want to concentrate validators. And I feel we're not going to see many validators that are going to be in between. So it's not a danger. But what I feel is that we're conflating a couple of things that on the way pools work. I understand, for example, if I have a home validator, it's my own validator, and I can afford to have more than 32, much less than 2048, then I might want to have a limit around, like, say, 128 ETH, and then consolidate everything on one validator. But what I don't understand is for validators like CSM operators or Rocket Pool operators, why would they need to be running these validators with a custom limit? Why? I mean, if the withdrawals are done, if the sweep is done on the pool itself, the pool has a lot of capital. They can actually be handling this on their side instead of on the pool capital, instead of like overloading the protocol for this. So I don't see how. So for pools, I would have expected that the pools themselves can handle this without having to overload the protocol. And for home stakers, well, we're seeing home stakers anyways consolidating. So yeah, so it's that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, but I think the reply to your question is that the bond that you have in the permissionless staking depends on this effective balance. So the bond that you have when you have a 001 validator and the amount staked, like using the capital provided by users, is 32 ETH, then the bond is something very small, like 1.5 ETH. The bond that you will need to use in order to run a permissionless validator when the max effective balance is like 2084 would be much higher. So basically, you cannot
it becomes. I mean, if those numbers are like that, I just contacted actually Jim on the side because I wasn't excited about CSM accepting 002. But if the numbers are like that, then again, it becomes very, very niche, right? A very small operator for CSM, like running 24 keys, would already have the full bond to stake at 2048 validator. So this only makes sense for a CSM operator that is running about between up to 12 keys maximum, so between 1 and 12 keys maximum. So I suspect that this is going to be very, very niche.
Yeah, so you mean from this focusing on the set of CSM validators, that this is a small fraction of them. This is what you say, right?
Well, I would have expected this to be like essentially no user of the chain to be on that, because it's not the difference between 32 and 2048. Now it's the difference between having 1.5 ETH and 32 ETH, right? Which is the bond. So
exactly.
The question is, how many operators do you see running keys for someone else or semi-professionally now at their home, running on metal validators and bonded for much less than 32 ETH? And I don't expect that number to be a large number of validators. And those are the guys that are, according to this argument, will benefit from this EIP on the pool side. Of course, home stakers will benefit. But on the pooling side, I only see this very small fraction.
Yeah, correct. So I don't have a precise number right now. This way, so I said before that 95% of Lido validators will be anyways there even without this AP. So we expect to be max 5%, but it might be even less. But yeah, I don't have now an up math, like I don't have a precise number on that. Yeah, so 75% of 75% of the 10% is basically 7.5% has less, something like that. So it's something between, let's say, 5 and 7.5%.
So I guess the request here is a bit more data about how many validators this would actually help with consolidation, right?
Yeah, but the question of POTUS is like, how many validators does it help within the Lido side, not in general? So I think in general, POTUS agreed that it is useful for like small stakers, but the question is like, what percentage of permissionless staking pools will be affected, right?
CW?
Yeah, it would seem to me that there are three distinct categories of staker that should be considered here that could potentially benefit from the CIP. Number one, solo stakers with smaller amount than 2048 ETH. Number two, pool stakers. And number three, as I said earlier, institutional stakers that want to be able to configure the amount of risk per key, which could be very convenient, particularly for those institutions that have things called risk committees, which are reasonably common in the financial industry.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I guess we continue the conversation in the next call. Is that okay for you guys? And maybe we'd add some more color onto the number of leader stakers this would affect. And it would be nice if client teams could have whoever looked into custom ceilings during the Petra implementation present on the call too.
Yeah, I also see actually from Barnabas some comment about consensus layer EIPs from Amsterdam, which I guess, yeah, should have been discussed like before Hekota, but perhaps it's useful to discuss now since we are still having some time.
Yeah, I just wanted to give ample time for Hegota discussions. Is there any other Hegota topic being proposed for today? If not, yes, we can bring up the Amsterdam CFI, DFI decisions. Okay. Yeah, let's jump back to Amsterdam in that case, since we still have some time. First EIP that is still pending is EIP 8080. This is let exits use the consolidation queue. So the intent here is mainly that we still have a bunch of CFI EIPs. How serious are we about implementing it for Amsterdam? If not, let's DFI them. Has anyone looked into exits using the consolidation queue? I don't think Francesco is available today to present it again. Okay, maybe to be fair to client teams, we shouldn't make the decision here right now to DFI it, but at least give intent that we plan on DFIing. Yeah, and execute on that decision in 2 weeks.
Yeah, may I ask whether there is context on why to DFI this AP?
Essentially that we still are working on stable Amsterdam, and there's a bunch of other EIPs that feel more important than this one. So if we're not intending to ship it in Amsterdam, then it's better to earlier DFI it so it doesn't hang around at a dead state.
Okay, but what is weird is like there is this difference between DFIing and DFIing with moving to Hekota considered for inclusion, right? So I guess if it's DFIed due to timing, then it should be kind of automatically included in Hekota or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the part I would also need to check up. As far as I know, no, that isn't the case. It doesn't get automatically added to the Hegota CFI list. You would need to repropose it for Hegota. Yeah, exactly. I think Tony and Nixo are kind of mirroring that. It would need to be reproposed for Hegota. And the proposal for window for Hegota is still open, so it is better to make the DFI decision now so people have ample time to repropose. Okay, so for EIP 8080, there's intent to DFI it. We'll take another call on it at the next ACDC and make a decision. The next one is EIP 8061, increase, exit, and consolidation churn. Do we have Anders perhaps on the call? Okay, Barnabas, you proposed SFIing this. Why is that if we don't have this on DevNet yet?
If we do,
Ah.
we've been having this in DevNet since DevNet 1.
Okay, perfect. Are there any clients against SFIing this in 2 weeks? Is there any reason that we would want to take this out of Amsterdam? POTO's EIP 8061. So this is increasing exit and consolidation churn. And it creates a separate consolidation churn limit parameter. Yeah, exactly. It's already been implemented and tested. So the main argument is if there's someone making a case for taking it out. If not, then in 2 weeks we can SFI it. Okay. The next EIP is EIP 8045. Exclude slashed validators from proposing. I don't think there's an implementation for this, right? Has any client looked into implementation complexity for this EIP?
I'm sorry, this is excluding from duties?
No, just
From
proposals.
proposing, just
Just
proposals.
proposals.
It should be fairly easy with the proposal look ahead.
Yeah, I think so. In Svalbard, we discussed this. It sounds to me that it's absolutely trivial to do this on just only for proposers. So I am inclined to accept if this is SFI'd. It should be very easy for us to implement. I assume I haven't really seen the details of the AP, but I assume that it's just at the time of computing the look ahead, you just pick the next one if it's slashed. If it's that, then this is a very simple change.
Sure, but is there still intent to ship this potentially or not? If there's intent, then we can also leave it in SFI. If there's absolutely no intent to ship it, then we move it to DFI.
I can have the PR open in Prism in like 5 minutes. It shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, then if you could do that, then we can take a call in 2 weeks what we want to do with this EIP. Worst case, it stays in CFI mode until it gets scheduled in a DevNet. But yes, it would be nice to know if we're talking about a relatively trivial implementation or a much bigger one. Okay, the next one is EIP 7688, forward compatible consensus data structures. This is a bigger EIP for sure. The question is, and it has been CFI'd, the question is, do we intend to ship this in Amsterdam or not at all and push it to headquarters? Or is there not enough information at this point? Have any client teams looked into rebasing 7688 changes? I know there was a DevNet in the past, but rebase on top of GLOAS?
The PR is currently rebased on top of GLOAS. I think we are just waiting on a decision whether it's gonna be make it into the next CL spec release.
Yeah,
Justin
that's
can
right.
probably comment on that.
Yeah, we're just waiting for a decision to be made.
Okay, since this is still a relatively large EIP, I would leave it as CFI. Let's see how long it takes for us to get stable Amsterdam before we're talking about another relatively large change to the code base.
Yeah, I think we've been pushing this for months now, this is decision, and that's why I think it would be very good to have a clear signal for client teams. Otherwise, they will never dedicate time. Yeah, like Inge just said, also in the chat.
Yeah, but the thing is, we can't move it to SFI until there's a DevNet. We're not going to change DevNets until we have stability, so it's kind of in limbo right now.
Yeah, but like maybe we can show an intent to SFI. And like how we have the intent to DFI 8080.
I think DFI decisions are inherently easier because we can have relatively high conviction that we're not going to get to them. But SFI decisions really do need a DevNet, people implementing so that we don't SFI something that we're not sure of. Yeah, exactly. And Nixo's already shared the requirements to be SFI'd. So if anything, I think we just need to get Amsterdam DevNet stable and then schedule this for a future DevNet. Yeah, Tony?
Yeah, could someone quickly remind me what was the main motivation behind this EAP? Because now we also have like this, yeah, side motivation that it solves the deposit contract stuff. But was the original motivation basically that we keep like the proofs against the beacon root stable? Was that the main
Exactly.
thing?
So that if we change stuff, we don't need to trigger everyone in the ecosystem updating their contracts.
Right. Yeah, this feels like very low impact, and we're quite advanced in the fork, and it's not a small feature, so I would probably lean towards not doing it.
I wouldn't say that it's a low impact, but maybe we disagree on this.
Do we have a number of how many people use the CL proofs? Because I remember the last time we checked, it was like a handful of people. And not saying that those are not important or anything, but it's quite a trade-off to now include a big feature. Like if everything is done and DevNet's worked fine, then I won't be opposed. I just don't want to delay it for additional CL features.
Yeah, let's maybe leave it at CFI for now and see how long it takes for us to get stable DevNets, and then we take a call. But yeah, we should make the decision before we close the Higota proposal times. Yeah, stable DevNets before stable containers. Exactly. Okay, any other EIPs worth discussing or any other topics worth discussing today?
If I may, just to interject for a little bit of topic, we are preparing the next cohort of EPF, the Protocol Fellowship. Just wanted to remind you guys about that and invite you to submit projects for the upcoming cohort. If your team wants to get some fellows to help with some implementation, some prototyping, and so on, please feel free to reach out or submit your idea by opening PR here. So yeah, we are starting in a couple of weeks. So just wanted to remind you all that there is this possibility, and There are some former fellows here, some former mentors. So just hope to get some more people for the EPF this time. And thank you.
Barnabas, do you want to talk about the change in time for ACDC?
Yeah, sure. So in the interop, there was quite some feedback from people that have not been able to attend many of the ACDC calls that live in the Australia time zone region. They are probably not here now to speak up, and we were just discussing whether this alternative time slot would work for most of the people that are here right now, and if there would be any opposition from moving the time slot from 1400 to 1100. So basically 3 hours earlier than when the current times are. And this would be only for ACDC, not for ACDE.
Yeah, I think from the European time zone, it doesn't really make a big difference. It's mostly going to affect the Pacific time zone US participants. Okay, I mean, there's still some discussion about we've tried in the past, etc. How do we want to proceed? I think we had a small internal vote with some CL teams. It's kind of 8 versus 8 people prefer the 3 hour earlier call, 6 people don't really care, and 3 people prefer the European time zone. So it's not a massive variance or any reason to really change stuff. Could we maybe flip this and get a strong commitment of who we would actually lose and who we would actually gain if we move the time zone from the client teams? That would probably be the thing that's that's most important. Maybe to Latvan's point, it doesn't have to be a permanent move. We can also try it for 1 or 2 calls, see if there's actually better engagement, and then move it back if we don't. And to Barnabas's point, I mean, Terence is on vacation. So that's, yeah. Okay, should we try it out ad hoc for the next ACDC? See if more people actually show up and how the engagement looks. And if not, we can move it. By default, it stays at the current time. The new timing is 3 hours earlier, but this is just a trial timing for the next ACDC, number 180, I guess. Yeah. And 181 onwards, it will stay at the existing timing unless we make a more permanent decision. To answer Jehoon's question, let's say this is just going to be for the next call. So just 180, purely so that it's easy to communicate. So if you're extremely bullish on the earlier time zone, then please show up.
So what's going to be considered like a success if there's more turnout, or if people come in and we fight more, do we consider that as a success or a failure?
I would consider that a success. If the ratio of me talking to everyone else talking goes up, then it's a failure.
I mean,
Okay,
if we have
yeah.
more Lighthouse people and more tech people on the call, I would call that a success if we can achieve that without losing many more client team devs.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Any other topics for today? If not, then thank you everyone for coming. See you next time at the earlier time slot, 11 UTC.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you for coming.